Wasn't the Olympics, but it felt that big.
The wait is over.
It's been a really long time. We need to get best on best back of those big games where it's country against country and it becomes more than hockey.
Opening night of the Four Nations face-off.
I've watched all you guys lay in traffic for each other. Now go lay in traffic for your country.
Tuesday, the 17th day of February. Welcome back to A Closer Look with Michael Friscolanti, our editor-in-chief. I'm Scott Sexsmith. Look, I know it's not Valentine's Day.
We missed that.
We did. And I know you're thinking, wow, he's nice. He brought me a heart. That is not what I did. Today is Random Act of Kindness Day.
It is, yeah.
It is.
February 17th.
When you do nice things for people.
3 days after Valentine's Day is Random Act. So if you forgot Valentine's Day, you can say to your partner.
It's like a mulligan. It's a do-over.
I got another one for
right?
Random
See?
Act,
Yeah. Now, this beautiful logo is representative of our CARES team, who, of course, are in charge of the Good Works program. And under that program, they do random acts of kindness right across our network in all of the markets that we are in. They do fabulous work, and today is their day.
Absolutely. And speaking of random acts of kindness,
yes.
One of our award winners at the annual Canadian Online Publishers Awards, the Random Act of Kindness team won a silver in the Best Video Content category for the great work that they do. This is the Suit Today Random Act of Kindness team.
Yes.
Fantastic. We won 2 other awards, 2 golds actually at the ceremony. I'm just looking at my phone to make sure I get it accurate. Kevin Lamb at Barrie Today won gold in the Best Photojournalism category for a photo gallery he did on the ice storm there last year. It was fantastic. He's a great photographer. He's been on the show. He's a great journalist. We've talked to him about a few other different issues. And Barrie Today was a double winner because the other gold came from Barrie Today. Nikki Cole won gold in the Best Daily News Coverage category for an article she did on a home explosion there last year. It was a terrible situation, but a fantastic journalism she did on the ground there. So 2 golds and a silver from the Copas.
Right, and Copa's Canadian Online Publishing Awards.
Yeah, did I get that wrong?
For those, no, you
What
got
did
that
I
right.
call it?
Well, you called them Copas, but for those who don't know the
There you
acronym.
go. Oh, sounds like we're at a beach somewhere.
That's my random act to you
Yeah.
today.
You know what? Well, I'm going to say the same thing I say about awards to the team and what I say all the time. It's great to get awards. It's great to get acknowledged. It's great when we get nominated. But I always wonder how it works, right? Because there's so many great pieces of journalism that we did this year that didn't even get nominated. So you know what I say to everybody?
And we're a good example of that.
That's right. That's never coming. Yeah, we tried to put it in for best video. Well, we tried to put it in for best video content, didn't we?
It was only an interview with the Prime Minister, but whatever.
He does those all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Anyways, we do great work across the chain. We have 27 local news sites. The Trillium McQueen's Park. Our journalism is top notch. Like I said, great to get a couple awards, but you're going to see fantastic stuff any day you log into any of our sites.
Absolutely well said. Speaking of gold medals, I love how these segues just come together. There is a very good chance, the good Lord willing, that Canada and the U.S. could meet in the gold medal game at the Winter Olympics Sunday morning. A little bit of work to get there.
Yes.
But let's go back in time, almost a year ago, actually, to the Four Nations face-off. Remember that?
Yes, it felt like our whole existence was at stake.
No kidding.
Last February. It was supposed to be an exhibition tournament. It was going to replace the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Canada, U.S., Sweden, Finland, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And by the time we played the U.S. in the round robin, I remember we were actually away at a kids' hockey tournament on the weekend. We were in London. And we were at a sports bar watching the game. And the place was just so... It just mattered more than any game I'd ever watched. And that was a game where there were 2 fights at the beginning of the game.
3
fights.
3 in 9 seconds.
Yeah, 3 in 9 seconds. And we were just getting into our seats when the fights happened.
Yeah.
And we ended up losing that game. And it felt like, oh my, we're about
gut punch.
It was a gut punch. And by the time the gold medal game rolled around, it just felt like we had to win. There was no losing that game. And then it went to overtime, and Connor McDavid, of course, somehow left wide open.
Crazy.
Pockets of beauty in overtime.
Yeah.
And it just felt like everything in the world was right, that we beat the United States, that Donald Trump couldn't get on Truth Social and tell us how we're the 51st state again. Because all that was behind it, right?
Yeah.
It was all the chatter about the 51st state and potential annexation. The tariff threats were huge at the time. We weren't quite sure how they were going to come out, and they did shortly after. So it really felt like America was threatening Canada at the time. They were.
No question.
They were. And so that all played out behind the scenes. So there's this new documentary called Rivals that's come out. Is it a CBC?
CBC, yeah.
Documentary. It's one of those classic documentaries that goes back and talks to all kinds of people behind the scenes, but also introduced us to a bunch of different characters that, as they were watching, just other Canadians watching this unfold. And who do we have on today?
We have Jan Motzkin, who is the director and was actually the executive producer with none other than PK Subban.
Oh, yeah, PK Subban's involved. That's right.
Yeah.
But he's the director, Jan, too.
He is the director, yes.
Yeah, well, it's a fantastic film. We watched it here, and I did watch it again.
Yeah.
It's a great piece of journalism, really. It's a fantastic story. And there's some interviews in there. We're going to talk about this with Jan. There's some interviews in there that you don't really expect, and I'll save that for the interview.
It was almost a year ago to the day, February 20th, 2025, overtime at the Four Nations Cup, and an entire country holding its breath until Connor McDavid somehow left wide open, pockets the winner against the U.S. The whole country exhaled because, amid the rhetoric over tariffs in the 51st state, this single game was about way more than hockey. It felt as though our very existence was on the line. If you haven't seen it, there's now a brand new documentary out about the tournament called Rivals, and the director, Jan Motzkin, was kind enough to join us for a chat. Jan, welcome to Closer Look. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, Scott. Hi, Michael.
Great to see you. This is fantastic.
It certainly is. Okay, Jan, let's get into this. When you and I were emailing back and forth last week, I told you that the three of us, including our producer, Derek, sat in the studio and watched Rivals. And for us, as I'm sure for every Canadian who's seen it, it was truly a moment of national anxiety. Canada and the U.S. have long been rivals, but this was definitely different. How soon after McDavid's overtime goal did you decide that this documentary had to be made?
The next day. I mean, so I grew up in Toronto, and I played hockey as a kid. I played youth hockey. I became a coach then I have a son now who going to play junior probably soon. So I've been in hockey for a long time, and I've been a fan for a long time. I'm from Toronto, so it's problematic because I'm a Leafs fan, and we all know what that is. But, that was some of the best hockey I've ever seen. And we've all seen a lot of good hockey, but that's right up there, if not some of the greatest hockey I've ever seen. And so right away, the next day, I called up a producing partner and I said, this is a movie. But it wasn't just the hockey.
That's right. Yeah. How closely did you follow the tournament?
I followed it pretty closely. I up until this year, I probably watch every Toronto game. So I watch a couple of games a week. The tournament, I think I watched every Canada game. There weren't that many, right? There were, 7 total games?
That's
I think it was very fast. I think 10 or 11 days. So there wasn't that much hockey to watch. But it was fantastic. And it got better as it went along, too, I thought.
It certainly did.
Oh, it definitely did. And you're right. This story is so much more about hockey. It's really a story about Canada, and that's what I found. There's so many questions I want to ask, but you're telling a story about Canada's love affair with hockey at the same time as you're telling a story about this tournament and the different characters you brought in, different authors, different journalists, different thinkers. How did you even start to begin to put together the list of who you wanted to have in this documentary besides the main characters?
Well, I was watching the games and sort of as we started making the film, what made me want to make this film is that not just was it the best hockey I've ever seen, but I could tell that it was something else, right? Something different was going on here. And at the heart of why I wanted to make this film was I wanted to explore what that was and why. Why was there something different? And, if we all think back to February 2025, you have Donald Trump, who's calling Canada the 51st state. He's calling the then Prime Minister Trudeau, Governor Trudeau. He's calling it the great state of Canada. And so we had this incredible and rare, if not unprecedented national moment where what was going on off the ice, which is like friends turned rivals, is now spilling out onto the ice. Or was it vice versa? And so I thought that was really interesting to explore, right? How did the two affect one another? And then how did that affect the national mood in the country? And for the first time, as a Canadian living in the U.S., I thought to myself, why am I thinking about my Canadianness now? Mm-hmm. And more importantly, what is it that I'm thinking about? What do I stand for? And are others feeling the same way? And so to answer your question, Michael, I started asking around, and it turns out that a lot of people were thinking the same things. They're like, what is going on? Why? And why do I suddenly feel more proud to be a Canadian now than maybe ever in my lifetime?
That's right. I think to me, it was also how it united the country, and it reminded us that it united Canadians of all types, right? Like I remember, old Italian relatives of mine who came here and they just fell in love with the game of hockey, and that resonated with the stories you told about some of the other people who tell the story about immigrating to Halifax or to Alberta and falling in love with the game. Even interviewing Kyle Edwards about the Indigenous perspective of this game, it weaved so beautifully. How much of a challenge was that to weave that in with also the story of the tournament?
It was tough, but it's sort of what I'm most interested in. I love, it's a sports film first and foremost, but I'm more interested in culture and politics and humanity. And so how do you make the Trojan horse the sport and then tell this larger story? And so you asked before about how do I think about who to reach out to, there's a lot of actually great people, but one person that I started talking to was this Stephen Marsh, who's a journalist and a writer and a great novelist. And he had a podcast called, ironically, Gloves Off. And I think it was 8 parts or 10 parts. And he, it was much more political than our film, but he was talking about a lot of the same things with a lot of great people. Like he was talking to Margaret Atwood and a lot of other very smart and interesting Canadians. And so I called him up, and right away he's like, listen, I'm a political guy. I don't know why you're calling me, but I have a lot of thoughts. I'm from Edmonton, and here's what I think. And then we talked on the phone for 2 hours when I just cold called him.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Jan, you had unprecedented access to players and coaching staff during the making of Rivals. What were they saying? Was it more than a game to them? Did it seem different? And what conversations stood out to you the most?
Well, it was great because we partnered with the NHL and the NHLPA and PK Subban. And so right away, that opened all the doors.
Right.
We could have talked to more players than we wanted to, but we just didn't. We ran out of runway. We ran out of time. And so we had to be very selective about who we talked to, not because, they're necessarily our favorites, but we ran out of time. And so we wanted to pick a few players on the Canadian side, a few players on the American side, both coaches, etc. You guys know athletes. If you're an athlete, and especially if you're a hockey player, you're used to playing on a big stage. You're used to pressure. You're used to noise, especially if you're in a big market like Toronto or New York or Montreal for hockey. And so, a lot of the players were tuning out the noise. Now, that's what they said. But, how can you tune out all the noise? I mean, they were all aware of what's going on. Sure. And a lot of them, some of them definitely, it fueled them and it motivated them. I know the Tkachuks talked about that, both Matthew and Brady. They were like, this is amazing. They felt like the underdogs going into Montreal and facing Canada. I mean, in the film, they talk about hostile territory, enemy territory. I've never really heard that kind of phrasing used from hockey players before. It's almost like military phrasing, right? But I think it really excited them and it really sort of jacked them up. And so they were aware of it, but they at least outwardly, they don't talk about tariffs or taxes, for example.
Yeah. Got to bring up PK, and you mentioned him. He's an absolute beauty. But what was with that outfit and that water jug? Did it not come in size big or what?
I said, PK, do you have something a little smaller? I mean, PK is incredible. You guys know PK. He is, as a hockey, was an amazing hockey player, but he's just got so much personality, so much passion, and so much insight, and so much to say about the game. What's wonderful about PK as a filmmaker is that sometimes you've got to ask people a lot of questions. With PK, he's got so much to say that I ask him one question, and he'll talk for an hour, and it's all interesting and insightful. I shot with him for a day, but he changed his wardrobe 3 times.
Why is that not surprising?
Yeah, he's a stylish guy, and he likes to hydrate.
Apparently so. Through all of this, Jan, did you or anybody on your team attempt to reach out to President Trump?
It's funny you should ask. We did not. I actually thought about it, and I was about to. I made a documentary a few years ago about Trump for Netflix, and I thought we should just reach out to him. partly because, it's fair, partly because it'll be great, and partly because I think he'll probably say yes. We didn't end up doing it because we were on such a short timeline. We made the film start to finish in 3 months, 12 weeks. So for anyone that, people that know how long it takes to make a feature documentary, it normally takes on average about a year.
Yes.
So instead of 52 weeks, we made it in 12 weeks. So we were researching it, prepping it, shooting it, editing it, and doing press for it and delivering it all at the same time.
Wow.
So we didn't reach out to Trump, but we did reach out to Prime Minister Carney. He kindly turned us down. I don't know why, because he comes out a hero. Former Prime Minister Trudeau, as you know, gave us sort of almost a full day of his time. He was very generous.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's phenomenal.
That must have been before Katy Perry.
Yeah, that's right. The 3 months.
I don't have any insight, but just from reading the same websites that everyone else does, I think it was already happening.
Oh, there you go. Good for him. The 3 month timeline still boggles my mind that you could play. Yeah, that's crazy. I'd have a hard time pulling off a story in 3 months, let alone a full documentary. And that kind of I assume the crunch was because you wanted to get it out before the Olympics.
Exactly. So we brought it to myself and my producing partners at Blink 49 and PK. We brought it to the NHL. They jumped on board right away, and the NHLPA. And so our first and only stop was the CBC. We said, this is a Canadian story. Let's go straight to the CBC. We didn't take it anywhere else. And the CBC said, yes, on one condition. And I said, sure, what? They said, it's got a premiere on February 5th. And I said, sure, no problem. And we said, great. We shook hands virtually, and then we hung up the phone. And then my producing partner looks at me and she goes, are you sure we can do that? And I said, why? She goes, have you looked at the calendar? And February 5th was 3 months away. And so the reason why they wanted February 5th was because it was the eve of the Olympics. And I'm really happy that they pushed for that because, it just gets a ton of hype and press. And for example, I know a lot of the guys like Coach Cooper, Brady Tkachuk, they were watching it on the way. I sent them the film before it came out, and they were watching it on the way to the Winter Olympics to get hyped up.
Oh, that's amazing. Cool. That's amazing. Speaking of hyped up, one of the interviews that really stands out to me is McDavid. Obviously, he's the star of the show. But when you see him interviewed typically, especially during the playoffs, and he's the captain of the Oilers, his scrums are painful almost. He doesn't like to talk. He gives 3-word answers. But you guys really got a lot out of him. Like, did you go to the bar first, or how did you get him to talk like that? He was really open.
I actually, that's funny that you say that. I proposed we go to the bar or a diner nearby, but they were like, no. I don't know. I think that was my approach. My approach was, I don't come with notes. I come in a T-shirt, and I come as a fan first, and I don't ask leading questions. I approach it as a conversation. And look, of course, McDavid is a superstar, and he's got people. And Trudeau is the former prime minister, and he's got people. But I think we have a very, very small crew. It's just me and 2 other people. And it's very casual, very conversational. We don't show up with gear. We just kind of show up and start shooting. And I think they all sort of respond to that. And, I'm not looking for any gotchas or any secrets. We just sort of want to talk hockey and talk personal stuff. And I don't know, they all kind of, they're into it.
Worked because it was fascinating. So there's a great scene in the documentary where basically everybody says, so we're going to talk about Gretzky. Do we have to talk about Gretzky? Let's do the same thing here. Let's talk about Gretzky, because that was really, and I think you did a great job tackling it. It's the most heartbreaking part of the story is that even that old footage you showed really got our blood going about Gretzky at the old Olympics saying, everyone wants us to lose. He's putting Canada on his back, and now he's totally the opposite. There is some, when I watch it, there's people did defend him. PK defended him. The great broadcaster from Edmonton defended him basically. And some people didn't. Obviously, Stephen Marsh did not. How hard was it to navigate how you were going to do that part of the doc?
That was the hardest. Because for a number of reasons. One, I'm a hockey fan. And I love Wayne Gretzky. I grew up in the 80s when he, just like Stephen Marsh says, I grew up in Toronto, but he was bringing cups back. I mean, you look at the box scores and every night, 3 points, 4 points, 5 points. So I'm a huge fan. I'm a hockey fan in general. I'm a hockey dad, and so my son is a teenager, and like, you know, he wants to have a future in the game. I have no interest in taking somebody down for the sake of it. You know, that said, I also want to be honest about what's happening. And we're also working with the NHL. And so it's very important for us to portray things honestly. And the first step of that, to me, is going directly to Wayne. And so we reached out to him a number of times. I said, listen, this is part of the story. We can't avoid it. Everyone's going to want to know, would you be open to sitting down and telling your version of it? And no leading questions. We're going to talk about the history of hockey. We're going to talk about Team Canada over the years, but we're also going to talk about, you know, the response to the Four Nations. And for a while, he was going to do it, and then at the end of the day, he decided for whatever reason not to do it. So that would have been better if he participated, but you know, that was the hardest part of the film, which is balancing that. You know, showing both sides of it.
Do you get a sense of why he's so hesitant to talk about it?
I can't pretend to know what Wayne Gretzky thinks. I can only imagine that as a public figure, one sort of hopes that their actions speak for themselves. And so for whatever reason, he believes that he's just a hockey player, and that's it, you know? But, you know, we live in a different time now. We live in a different culture right now, and people want to hear what people have to say. And he's a public icon, and he's a hero, and I think people need that. People want heroes and icons to look up to and to stand up for them. So I certainly can't pretend to know what or why he's thinking.
Well, that's he made himself out to be the icon too. He put Canada on his back many times. I think that's what people are struggling so much. I guess we just won't know the answer until he wants to talk one day.
Yeah, he appeared on a podcast a month or two ago, but he didn't really address it. And then I know Janet made that tweet. But yeah, so hopefully he'll address it soon. Maybe he'll come around. Maybe if he's interested, then I would love to make a film with him. And, you know, hear his whole story, not just about this, but everything. It's an incredible story. He's the greatest athlete that's ever played in my opinion.
Yes.
Not just hockey, but sports.
Agreed. Okay, we're right in the thick of things at Milan Cortina, the Olympic Games. And if things play out the way that we think they might, it'll be Canada and the States playing each other in the gold medal game Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. Jan, how important is it that it plays out that way and that Canada comes out on top again?
How important is it that Canada wins at the Olympics? I think there's so much pressure and so much expectation for Canada to win in hockey. You know, as a Leafs fan, it's the same thing. There's so much pressure and so much expectation that it's almost like if they don't win the gold, it's a disappointment. And that's hard. Those are hard expectations to live up to. Now, are they the best team at the Olympics? Yes. Will they win? Most probably. But, you know, I kind of wish it was a little bit more pure, where it's nice. And part of the film that I made is about this idea of like underdogs and favorites and bullies. And it's nice to be an underdog sometimes, or not to be such a heavy favorite. So I think Canada's going to win. I mean, they're just too good. You know, even with like, you look at what Tom Wilson and Macklin Celebrini's doing, you know, two guys that were not in the Four Nations, you know, in addition to David and McKinnon and Cale Makar and Mitch Marner and Sam Reinhart. I mean, you know.
Go on and on and on.
Yeah, they're going to.
It's crazy. It's been crazy to watch. You mentioned a reaction from some of the players, Tkachuk, and I think Cooper you mentioned. Have you heard from other players who are in the film?
Not yet, because we finished the film just as they were all getting ready for the Olympics, but I know that they all have it and they're all hyped up and they're all very excited to see it.
Yeah, and you're proud of it, obviously. How are you? What about the reactions from people just talking to you on the street?
It's been great. I mean, you know, I live in New York, so unfortunately, people where I live haven't seen it yet because it airs on the CBC and CBC Gem. So people on the street haven't seen it yet. But, you know, online, all my friends back home are all calling me and texting me and saying I love it, and they're seeing ads for it, like in British Columbia and in Toronto and in Quebec, and it's just so great. And it's been really, really, really great feedback.
Just a couple more questions for you, Jan. Give us the best behind-the-scenes story from the making of this film, whether it was one of the interviews you went to, something that happened on the way. Give us the best thing that didn't make the film that happened as you were making the film.
Oh, that didn't make the film?
Yes.
What's on the cutting room floor?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Oh, well, that's a tough one because there's a few. I mean, PK has some. I mean, I could probably make a movie, another whole movie with all the stuff, the great stuff that PK did. I mean, PK is quite. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this. Actually, he won't mind me saying this. He's quite an air guitarist.
Oh.
And we spent the day in his apartment, and he rocks out to, like, he talks about Bruce Springsteen, but he rocks out to like Pearl Jam, and he spent like a good amount of time just rocking out to Pearl Jam in his bathrobe, and we filmed the whole thing. I mean,
that could be a film on its own.
Yeah, I wish that's a movie on its own, but somehow it's not thematically appropriate to the Four Nations.
Well, that takes a lot of effort. Good thing you stayed hydrated.
That's right.
Jan, your resume speaks for itself. You're one of the best. What's next for you? What are you working on?
I have a scripted film that I'm probably going to go into production on in the fall, and then I have 2 or 3 docs that are in the works that I might start on one in a couple of weeks.
All right, good stuff. Anything that we didn't talk about or cover tonight that we should have?
No, I think that's great. That's great. Thank you guys for being such fans in this conversation. It's been really great. It's a great film, and I'm happy that people are responding to it in a fun way.
Yeah, well, we're excited about the game. Tomorrow at 10:40, I think, is a prelude to that. We're going to sit in the studio and watch Rivals again just before puck drop.
Where can everyone else watch it if they want to check it out?
CBC, CBC Gem, and the CBC Docs channel on YouTube, I think, correct?
That's right.
All right, good stuff. Jan Mattsson, director of Rivals. Great stuff. Appreciate your time tonight, Jan.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks, Michael.
I'll tell you, I'm getting goosebumps already, and the game isn't until tomorrow morning. You know, one thing that I wish I had asked Jan, because we all talked about it when we watched it, was how emotional Chris Cuthbert, who calls the games for CBC and Sportsnet, how emotional he got because he didn't feel that he got the golden goal call correct.
Yeah, Crosby's goal in the 2010 Olympics. Right. Yeah, he kind of thought he botched it almost. Yeah. And I was like, that's crazy. It's a great call.
It's iconic.
The golden goal. Crosby scored the golden goal.
Yeah.
And he felt like he alluded to the fact that the classic kind of Foster Hewitt call was like Henderson scores for Canada. Yeah. And he always wanted to get that right. He was in tears talking about that 2010 call.
Yeah.
And he felt that for him, and this is what also blew me away. Cuthbertson said, describing the McDavid goal, that he goes, unlike the Crosby goal, which happened kind of on a broken play quickly,
yes,
you saw the McDavid goal developing. So he's up in the booth.
Yeah.
And the Crosby thing happened so fast.
Yeah.
And it did happen fast. That goal just came out of nowhere. All of a sudden. But he said with McDavid, you could see everyone clearing out of the zone. McDavid suddenly is wide open. You see the pass come from Marner. So he was ready to call a goal.
Yeah.
And now I found that a fascinating insight into the way a hockey broadcaster works. Because not like calling baseball. Hockey moves a lot faster than baseball.
My God,
so if you're calling hockey. And then he felt like the way he called McDavid's score, McDavid for Canada.
Yes.
He felt like, and he cried again. He got teary-eyed. I felt like and so that's where a documentary film or a great piece of journalism goes way deeper, right? Because you got to have a guy in that moment alone talking about something. And they let their true feelings out. Yeah. Who knew after, what has it been, 16 years since Crosby's goal?
Exactly.
That Chris Cuthbert thought that was a bad call, which is crazy.
Yeah. And it shows you how they wear their passion and their national pride on their sleeves.
Absolutely.
Even the guy calling the game.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. It's a great film. It's really well done. Definitely captured the mood of it all and the fact that we needed to win this game. It was so important. It was a late game. My young kids stayed up late to watch the overtime.
Yep.
It was just so critical. And I honestly, he talked about how we're going to win the Olympics. There's part of me that doesn't feel like the stakes are quite. I feel like, okay, we beat them in the Four Nations Cup. If we don't win the gold medal, it'll stink.
Oh.
But I don't feel like if we had lost that Four Nations Cup game at that moment in history, I felt like it would have been worse.
Yep.
So we want to win. If we play the States, we're going to win. I think we're going to win. But if we don't, I don't think it'd be as heartbreaking as losing that Four Nations game.
And I did love, and we didn't get to this, when we did win that night, former Prime Minister Trudeau tweeting out, you can't take our country, and you can't take our game.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
That was kind of his FU moment.
He probably had that all ready to go on the screen, just waiting for something.
Bullet was in the chamber. He was ready to go.
Yeah. So I'm going to keep rambling. But you know what else that was clear in that documentary?
It's our show, man.
How good Mitch Marner is. He played amazing in that tournament, man. He was in on every big goal.
I know.
It's crazy how good he is.
And I still can't believe.
Go Leafs, go.
Yeah, that's right. If you're a Toronto fan, you're like, where the hell was that for the last 10 years?
He was so good, man.
How does a guy like Connor McDavid be left alone in the slot in overtime?
I know. Has anyone ever asked Austin Matthews that? Like, they must have been the post-game scrum, no?
It would have to be because he was Matthews' guy, right?
Even Novel, your reporter, have you seen the documentary, Austin? Like, what? Like, it's just crazy wide open.
Yeah.
Like, I almost feel like Connor would have missed it just because, like, how the heck am I so wide open? It'd be like, give like an easy layup in basketball. You're wide, you blow it because you're so open.
All right.
Anyways, took us 3 months to get through this post-interview discussion.
I know. Jan's doing a whole doc, and we're just wrapping up an extra. Okay, big game tomorrow, 10:40. You can catch it on CBC and Rogers Sportsnet. Rivals, seriously, it is a must-watch. CBC, CBC Gem, and the CBC Docs YouTube channel. Go Canada, go. Elbows up. So they say. Closer Look at villagemedia.ca is our email address. Closerlookpodcast.ca. Sign up. We'll send you lots of content. You'll love it. Derek Turner, producer of this evening's program. For Michael Friscolanti, I'm Scott Sexsmith. Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow night at 7 right here on Closer Look.
Frisco and Scott's Wardrobe provided in part by Moores, Sault Ste. Marie.